Hi. So I'm going to be showing how to make a ball and chain trap, or a Morningstar flail trap, or a swinging axe trap using Spine and Unity3D physics. So the first thing I'm going to do is rig everything up in Spine. And to start, I'm going to select the root bone and choose the Create tool and add a bone to the rope or swinging object that extends roughly the length of the rope. If you use more bones here, you can create a more detailed animation, but I'm only going to use one because it's quick. I'm also going to create a bone in the dead center of the Spikeball or Morningstar, and this is going to become our collider, so it's fairly important that you keep this pretty close to the center to make our lives easier in Unity. Again, holding Shift and clicking on the Morningstar will automatically create the bone and parent the slot to it. So now we can drag the rope around and the Morningstar follows around with it. So I'm going to go create a new animation, call it Swing. Jump over to the Animation tab and make a couple keyframes. So keyframe 0, most traps would probably start in roughly the up position. And then I'm going to scrub all the way over here to frame 120 and bring the Morningstar, actually, take that back. Count frames 1 banana, 2 banana. Should end at 120, and then we'll bring it over to the other side around frame 60. So now we get a good looking swing animation. However, I'm also going to take all the keys and apply an ease in, ease out to them, so we get a very nice, not quite physically accurate, but close enough swing. Okay, we are almost done in Spine. Under the export settings, standard Unity stuff is here, so I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to browse into my Unity project, and I usually have a sprites folder, so I'm going to create a spike trap folder as well and export my Spine project with Atlas into there. Now on the Unity side, we should see all that show up. Under spike trap there, we can test out the swing animation, make sure that's still working. Looks like it is. So I'm going to right click the Spine asset and choose Spine Spawn, which should get us an object in the scene. And under its skeleton animation component, I'm going to choose Swing and Loop so that we definitely start playing the animation. Just prove all that works by hitting the play button in Unity. Looks pretty good. So now I want to attach a collider just to the spike ball, not to the root object of the skeleton animation, which never moves because this is a contained Spine skeleton instance. So this is what skeleton utility is for. By clicking Add Skeleton Utility from the bottom of Skeleton Animation, you'll see it draw the bone, any bones that were in the Spine project directly in the scene view. But it also allows you to choose Spawn Hierarchy. And what this does is create a series of transforms underneath the Spine skeleton object that mirror the position and properties of the bones in the Spine project. So in this case, we're going to be using follow, which means it's going to configure the transforms to follow the position of the bones in the Spine project. So by clicking follow and expanding the hierarchy, you'll see the objects expanded here, and with the little bone icon to let you know what mode they're in, and that they are actually Spine bones, not just regular transforms. In the scene view, you'll also see some pretty familiar icons like the null point from Spine, as well as the circle click thing from Spine. And now, the fun part, adding physics. So by selecting the Spikeball transform now, I can do a component physics 2D circle collider and then tweak the radius so it's about the right size to cause some damage. And we hit the play button, we'll see that's parented. You know, it's a Unity hierarchy now. It's all pretty standard. To make sure everything's working, I'm going to create a cube, remove its regular box collider, and add a 2D box collider, because this is a 2D demo, and drag this out as a nice ground plane down here. Notice there is also a root bone down here. This is why I said I keep the root in the origin. It means I know exactly where this trap is going to swing, so I can put stuff in the way or make sure that this is positioned where I want it to make the player's day a little worse. So with our ground box collider, I'm going to create another cube and remove its 3D box collider and add its 2D box collider. Make this about player height. And put it right around there. And I'm going to also add a physics 2D rigid body to this object. And hit the play button. So now, when the spike ball comes rolling through, it will impact the player and make his day a little worse. It is worth noting that depending on how complicated your physics simulation is, you may be better off also adding a physics 2D rigid body to the spike ball itself. But I strongly advise checking is kinematic because we are driving this animation using the spine animation data, or rather we're driving this physics object using the spine animation data, not a physics hinge joint along the axis of this rope, which you are more than welcome to do as well. It's pretty easy to set up. But I will go over that in another video. So I hope that sums that up pretty quick. I think this is a very good example of how to basically use skeleton utility to do a lot of the setup that you would do normally with a Unity3D rig, but also affecting a spine rig, so you get the best of both worlds. All right, see you.